Jifgat, Clark Holate Os. Hische, Honunwan Momen Hoktin. I said, my name is Blue Clark, and I said, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hodelgulk, Omes, Kasita Thlako, Idalwat, Mikosapka Chogo. I said that my clan is the Wind Clan, and I said that my church is Big Casita. I come out of Casita town, Casita Idalwa. You're viewing behind me the Promontory Point for the American Indian Culture Center in Oklahoma City. It is one of those monuments in my mind that happens once in a lifetime. When completed, this will be the focus of children's and grandchildren's understanding of who American Indians are, non-Indian, Indian, whoever passes through here. This will advertise the state of Oklahoma. This will advertise the United States. This will advertise a major portion of American history, which is indigenous. And on this continent, the vast majority of that history is prehistory for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millennia. Native peoples have been in this area for a very, very long time. Over time, they had moved with drought or buffalo herds or other reasons. And then other American Indian groups came in by force, called removal, into this region. Some came voluntarily into this area from the southeastern United States to avoid the expanding frontier. Some were buffalo hunters, some were mixed blood traders with Spanish, German fur traders, Spanish settlers, French, a few English, other Indians, long before any kind of forced removal. And then in the Indian Removal Act, enacted by Congress in 1830, that allowed the president to institute policies that would move into this area East Indians who occupied the eastern woodlands of the United States, to free that area up for settlement and pioneer settlement. It took a while to obtain the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, and then Congress the following year authorized the federal government to encourage Indian peoples to enter into this area west of the Mississippi.
Why Oklahoma?
This was called Indian Territory and was established once the Louisiana Purchase territory was acquired. This was considered to be unoccupied. This was considered to be buffalo country, Indian country, and unclaimed by only a tiniest handful of non-Indian settlers. So it was in a sense wide open. It was already occupied by numerous Indians, but that barely entered into the thinking of the federal government. And in Georgia, gold was discovered in the late 1820s, and pressure really jacked up to remove Cherokee and other Indians, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. And various tribes underwent trails of tears. The most famous, usually in art and film, is the Cherokee Trail of Tears in the late 1830s, here into northeastern Oklahoma. But many, many tribes have ended up in Oklahoma. And then after the American Civil War, out on the plains, other tribes were persuaded to come to western Oklahoma for reservations. So you get a great diverse collection of native peoples here in Oklahoma. Removal varied depending upon the wealth of the tribal members, depending upon the time of year, depending upon who came first, who came last, as an experience, who was in control of the removal. It has many layers of complexity, but certainly there was terrible suffering for those who came walking through winter storms, through ice, who were stopped by bureaucratic ineptitude, lack of food, no medicine, lack of tents, to cross the Mississippi at some point. Lack of steamboats, lack of barges. You had to wait a month, 2 months. Floods prevented the shipping to move people. Some terrible experiences. The usual figure is about a quarter, about a fourth of many of the 5 tribes perished as a result of removal. And then once you were here, lack of shelter, you had to start all over again. Lack of food, lack of annuities, continued hard times. In my own family, I grew up with stories of the creek Trail of Tears. My great-grandmother, Vicey, was carried as a child over the creek Trail of Tears. We were lower creeks out of Casita and Coweta towns. Coweta being William McIntosh's hometown, who signed the Treaty of Indian Springs, which first began creek removal pressure. And when Vicey was carried, I do not know exactly whether it was in very late 1820s or later in the 1830s. I do not know. No one was certain of her age because there was no birth certificate, obviously. But there are many, many family stories that I grew up with of the Creek Trail of Tears and Vicey, and then trying to reestablish themselves here in Indian Territory, in the Creek country. As a lower creek, we were located in the so-called Arkansas District. She survived, had offspring, and here I am today. I would summarize Indian removal by trying to place it in a larger perspective, and that is by non-Indians who want equality in the United States, wrapping themselves in the flag. And native peoples were here first, and survival, the fact that they have survived as separate cultures uniquely on the planet as American Indians, is to me the most noteworthy. They have not melded into the mainstream. By and large, tribes are still operating. Some are in better shape than others. Some are larger, some are smaller. Some have suffered more, some have suffered slightly less, but they're still here. And if I wanted to change one thing, I would like the mainstream of America to realize that American Indians as tribes and tribal people are still here. Still a vibrant part of the economy, a part of the culture, part of the arts, literature, music, heritage. This is, after all, Oklahoma is, after all, an American Indian state at its start. And American Indians have not disappeared or vanished into the mainstream with dinosaurs, as some people are prone to ask me sometimes.